a scion of many worlds. His first impulse is to try and somehow puke up the literal hole in his stomach. The stench of his guts hits like a hammer and he pushes it all back. His first action is to grab Beryl and roll away from the next double laser blast. He rises and races across the floor to draw the fire away from Beryl. The glows track him and fire again. He's suddenly 2 meters back from where he was, like his connection to all reality lagged and the lasers miss clearly. Beryl is already up and moving along the cavern walls as she draws a large falchion that looks like the love child of an axe and a claymore. She pounces on the figure in the darkness and brings down the sword. Her ears move, but he makes no sound as he waits for the perfect moment. She will sense any teleport, and if she can tell which direction he's coming from, that sonic attack will drop him again. He needs her to relax slightly, but her guard isn't dropping. Reality shatters as something slams into both of them. It goes through his hardened skin and he can feel the blow in his brain. Later, get up, his reflection states, and he sucks in a gasp of shocked air. He's face first on the ground and can feel a bruise forming where his nose smashed into the stone. "Queens, no! You cannot!" someone shouts, and he teleports away. He looks down from above to see something slam into where he was laying a half heartbeat ago and shatters the stone, a killing blow. He can't take this one prisoner, too much axiom power. He'll have to get her secrets by examining the corpse. And that single clue, Queens know. He focuses on his antenna and forces their range outwards. It is not a sight, it is not a sound, and he sees her fully. Obviously female, a fossa, 2 power sources from the pistol scale lasers, but she has something else, a communicator of her own in a pack around her back. Her axiom markings have a tiny amount of energy running through them he can sense as she looks around for him. Unfortunately, he's not only high above, but beyond the edge of the ledge. As he waits, he does 2 more things. He monitors Beryl's health. She's just unconscious. Her heartbeat is regular and she has brain activity similar to someone sleeping. She's going to have a killer headache in the morning, but it will only be metaphorically killer. The other thing he does is start to patch up the sheer damage that single attack did. He has to go low so he doesn't draw on too much axiom. The process is agony. He has to repair the stomach first and foremost and get that acid spill under control. Then he can focus on his ravaged organs. Thank God he put those adrenal glands in. Otherwise, the pain would have caused him to fuck up already. The process of healing is mildly distracting, and he almost misses his opening. Beryl snores ever so slightly, and there's a heavily suppressed flinch from the fossa. He teleports as she twitches and she starts to whirl, even as she begins to scream so hard the world starts to break. His claws go through her skull through the side and stop for nothing. The mostly headless corpse drops to his feet even as loosened stones cascade down to the right. It takes just a flick to get what little gore stuck to his left claws off. He steps over the cooling pile of meat and secrets and attends to Beryl. Thankfully, it takes little more than a moment to get her up and moving, albeit groggily. What hit me? Her. She used a sonic attack. I can barely open my eyes, let alone use weird words. Magic scream hit you in the brain, he says simply, and she nods before wincing in pain. Fuck, fossa assassin. Always bad news. Can't stop them with guards or walls. They know you're coming and can get through stone with a scream. Yeah. They also know how to knock someone right out. What got you up, she asks, and Jasper thinks to the reflection. It was likely instinct, but too many coincidences were stacking up faster and faster. Honestly, past the second, it's not a coincidence at all. It's a pattern. Something's up with me. Not sure what, but it saved me this time. It happened before? Beryl asks, as her head clears and she gets her jumbled thoughts in order. A memory that wasn't mine told me what a Jorgwa was inside and out. After that, I felt something try and connect to me as I reached out my mind to another. This time, my own reflection woke me up. You're being watched over. Something is helping you. Perhaps. When I have time, I'll try to talk to it. Why haven't you? Beryl asks, as she rubs the side of her head and allows a shiver to pass down her body to get a feel of everything again. All this happened tonight. Not a lot of time to sit down and contemplate, Jasper remarks. Do you want to sit this out? I won't blame you. No. Duty says I watch your back as you watch mine. I will not do any less. She insists and he nods. Although, do keep talking, it's helping. Not much more to talk about, unless you care for the private stuff. I won't pry. Maybe not, but you may have insight. Jasper muses. Do you know what a clone is? I was taught that when I was shown the older secrets of the Order. In the age of miracles, there was knowledge on how to remake people. I find it doubtful. It's not perfect, but I'm a double clone. My body is the clone of the Earthani Emmanuel Skitterway. My mind a clone of the human soldier Horus Blue. The being that appears to be trying to contact me. It appears to be the original Emmanuel Skitterway. Really? So, you are what then? I do not know. I am not Horus, I call him brother. I am not Emmanuel, I think. There are instinctive differences between myself and Horus. I thought it was due to being earthany rather than human, however. If it's not, then what does it mean? Am I the son of Emmanuel, born of his flesh? Or am I Emmanuel returned with the knowledge and will of Horus as well? Oh, that is too heavy a problem with this headache. Well, it's my problem, not yours, so don't worry, Jasper remarks before rolling his neck. Not to mention the other questions such a thing brings about. By all rights, I shouldn't be able to become Emmanuel, not unless there's more than flesh, bone, and axiom. There is. Don't you believe in the soul? I don't know. I really don't. If they're not real, this makes little to no sense. If they are, then there are so many more questions. Do I have my own, or am I getting Emmanuel's? What determines who or what gets a soul? What happens when the soul leaves? What happens when a soul comes into something already aware and alive? I think you're about to find out. And that terrifies me. All I can do is face it head on, but this isn't anything I've ever even imagined needing to be ready for. It's madness. He says in a haunted tone before he takes a deep breath and lets it out. But if I am nothing else, then I am undaunted. I do not run from my problems, I feast upon them and grow stronger. Well, that was a change in tone, Beryl jokes as she shakes her head and sighs. All right, I'm good to fight. Excellent, but have you any advice? None beyond face it boldly. In matters of the soul, I believe two things: they cannot be undone, and they are good. I doubt it helps, but I hope it does. We shall see. Now, let's loot the corpse. Do you have to put it that way? She asks him wryly as she gathers up her falchion. Let's rob the dead bitch, sis? Jasper asks in a mocking tone. I preferred the first, she says plainly. I thought you might. He remarks as he steps up to the corpse and goes first for the backpack to pull out the communicator. How many of those are there? I don't know. In general, things are built to last in perpetuity. So unless the pieces of the nest landed mostly in the ocean, there should be a fair amount of tech lying around. If anything, there's been a lack of it. Not really. Things are like that are the sorts of things that families tend to hoard to themselves. Some infighting or hard times later, and they sell it. So, one or two major groups would have the lion's share of the tech. The what share? Never mind, he says before scoffing. This one is digit print protected. So he picks up the corpse's hands and presses them onto the scanners. It gets through, and he quickly uses the administrator access to register himself so he doesn't need to do that again. Hey, what's Canid Solutions? A major weapons manufacturing firm, big enough to encompass entire worlds for their production and testing needs. So big they can give worlds away and call it a win. Jasper answers, sparing a glance to see that Beryl is examining corporate logos on the laser pistols. Then that means that these date back to the Age of Miracles. At least, they may have been a gift from an older member of the family to the younger one when they went away on the colony ship. We could easily slap on a few extra centuries to the estimate without much issue. He remarks as he notes the journal and has to resist rolling his eyes. Well, at least there's an upside to a lack of hacker culture. No one knows how to protect their data. Hacker? To hack into something is to get control of the information held inside, or outright control an electronic device when you're not supposed to. I technically hacked it when I used Miss Deddy's hand to get past the imprint access. It thought I was her, so it let me in, then I told it to let me in. So now it does. Makes sense. I think it's very strange. On that, we agree. Can I keep these? They're much smaller than the ones we've been confiscating in the temple and shoot more. The trigger guard makes them almost impossible for me to use them, so go right ahead. I think you may have a higher-up try and call dibs, though. They're powerful weapons if used right. He pats his stomach. Damn near killed me. You repaired the hole in your armor? She asks, and he feels around the area. No. Why would you ask that? He asks, and she sticks her finger into the hole in his gear to poke him in the newly healed stomach. I think the fur has turned black. She notes, and his eyebrows go up. Okay, so I'll need a mirror after this. Can you see guts or blood? No. Then it's not a problem. Let's finish tossing the corpse and go, Jasper says, before focusing more on the antenna and finding a few more, less obvious irregularities around her person. He follows them to extract a half-dozen thin knives of various metals, 2 small bandoliers of darts that are resting in such a way that their tips are drenched in poison, what appears to be garrote wire braided from long hair, and a letter that at first appears to be gibberish, but is clearly in some kind of cipher. At the end of the letter is the symbol of the serpent being stabbed, the breakaway empire. Everyone seems to have a different name for them. They call themselves the True Empire and denounce the Holy Empress as a false goddess sent to lead them astray, conveniently forgetting that all the so-called false promises were things they themselves made up and not things that were actually promised. So what's with this Empress anyway? What is she like as a person? Hurt. The destruction of the Age of Miracles and the brutal years that followed hurt her deeply, and she has not recovered. She's living proof that without a competent healer you can live for thousands of years and still feel pain. She switches from a being of immense wisdom clad in sorrow so thick that complete strangers weep for her, and then she changes to the tiny child she was during the fall, unable to see you as anything other than one of several friends that exist only in her mind. Dear God, an immortal empress with dissociative identity disorder. She's partly the reason why we haven't rebuilt. She's the only person alive that remembers what it was like to be in the Age of Miracles, and she's broken. An immortal shell forever weeping over her loss or denying she ever had anything to lose, until you came around and started speaking as if it were something to strive for. The Age of Miracles could have been better called the Age of Decadence. Really? Do you have any idea how absurd you are? Somehow more absurd than the immortal woman with heavy and prominent dissociative identity disorder as a coping mechanism to seeing everything she knows and loves die, and then everything she builds and births die and rot as well. He simultaneously asks and accuses. Primitive or not, that girl should have gotten some kind of help. You pity her? How can I not? Her life is an unending series of tragedies that, from the sounds of it, she can't overcome before more tragedy piles on. Unless I'm mistaken, she is the only primal Nagasha on the planet, right? Right. Then she has no one she can truly connect to. At her age, the lives of those around her must be a blur of senseless motion, and then they're done. Her every daughter and descendant growing old and dying in what feels like moments. She is surrounded by family and worshippers, but is more alone than any of us can imagine. So she's either in mourning for all she has lost or will lose, or she's denying everything and trying to find some measure of happiness. She doesn't know how to handle the grief and pain, Jasper says as he runs a claw over his head. I never thought of it that way. She just seems beyond us all. She's just another person, one who's been through much, much more than anyone else on Lochran, Jasper says. Getting her to a psychiatric specialist to help her work through her grief and getting her a circle of friends with other very long-lived people will work wonders for the poor girl. You've never even seen her or understand her beyond basic descriptions. Why do you care? Beryl asks. Why not? He asks as he finds what may be a series of cipher keys. The woman's journal is wisely devoid of any mission mentions, but he does have a name to put to the face he tore off, Lumilla Scythe. He parses through the ciphers and sees something. A pattern forms and he slowly starts to read the letter out loud. Operative Scythe, you are to aid in the growing dissension in Bright Dawn. Grant them the supplied weapons for their use and the illusion of support from the true Empire. If they think they have our wholehearted assistance, they shall be heartened for the attack. While the rebellion occurs, you are to seek out and extract all information from the mainframes of the hidden technological repository. If it is a shuttle as expected, then you are to defend and study the device until you can safely fly it back to base. The Empress protects. I suppose it explains why she didn't just loot this place and run then, Beryl says in an awed tone. Yes, indeed, a second functional shuttle, quite the prize.